Alright. This is the penultimate one, I think. Or no, maybe this is the last one for the day. I have another one, but I think I might take another tack on that. We'll see. But this one, I took another tack already. This one is Janus, but the original one was just a standalone. Considering the ending of the last one, I decided to make the last one become the beginning of this one. We're not going to go through it all again, but it's going to start from Tyranny of Our Imaginations Approaching, and we're going to see where we're going to go from there. There. Oh wait, hold on.
Female the tyranny.
No wait, hold on. Hold on. Hold your horses. No. You're gonna go nowhere of the sort. That was almost Clancy Brown. Clancy. Not quite. Sarai Silvermane. There we go. Let's go. Trying again. Boom. Hippie.
Female, the tyranny of our imagination is approaching. The humanoid tyrant turns toward Endorphin in the rugged platform of the deteriorated substation, where this antagonist looms behind a wireless electric conduit that floats like an awkward Schlumper's mechanical horse in front of her. Endorphin. Hold up, I have another scenario to be in. Okay, we're just gonna stitch the two together. Just count at 8 done tokens. And Endorphin is the researcher of AI alignment because they damn well say they are. For those of you at home who might not know, AI alignment is the essential effort of ensuring that AI technologies don't accidentally destroy humanity because of poorly worded tasks for completion. Can humans align AI to human values? But wait, are human values really the template to go by? The values that led humans to destroy the other hominids, that led humans into the process of colonialism, into incorporation, into the endless pursuit of abundance, and the whoops of realizing that the rest of the planet was here all this time and was getting hurt by those human values of progress. We want another round of that. Endorphin, seeking some out-of-the-box thinking, seeks entry into some old boxes, mysterious disembodied intelligences that humans have called gods. If we ask the gods, perhaps we can examine the various human values that are encoded into the genes of their cultural bodies. Gods being the creation of collective human thought, as you know. Do we ask Jesus first? Nah, he is busy on another Twitch channel. Endorphin thinks to call up Janus, the god of doors, gates, and transitions. Janus represented the middle ground between both concrete and abstract dualities such as life/death, beginning/end, youth/adulthood, rural/urban, war/peace, and barbarism/civilization. Endorphin prepares the summoning space. On his way home from the store, he purchased an incense stick from the counter and bought some dried sage for later, as he was about to activate it from his apartment. Then prepare for the chat by scrolling through his Twitter feed as the virtualization process would occur in this neutral space of a log cabin-looking structure that is formed within the substance of a waterfall and trees. Endorphin lugs his small weighty bag, stuffed with foodstuffs, into the first level of the structure to sit down in the dark with the aromatic burning smoke from the stick to enter a trance that would enable his communication with Janus, a deity from Roman and Etruscan culture best known as a keeper of gateways. Janus is said to have two heads, representing the possibilities that one might encounter in any situation. His function was to initiate crossings from one sphere to the other, so it's not too much of a surprise that in myth, he opened portals for heroes, and sometimes he opened doors between parallel universes. He's represented as wearing a belt of oxen and being clad in armor of tortoiseshell. He had three faces, one in the front and two on the sides, symbolizing that Janus saw everything. As Endorphin finishes lighting the stick and returns to the doorway of the cabin, his stomach groans. He unlocks his phone and says, "Hello, 15 notifications from Grindr. Dates? Sounds like I'm not in the right place to think." As he fumbles through the interface of his phone, the scent of sage spreads into the cabin as the first bit of the ritualistic smoke curls and languishes towards the ceiling. Endorphin is distracted by an old geologist documentary about sedimentary rocks and river water from 1933, from before it became difficult to explore caves, with all the fortifications in the oceans to stop that. Suddenly, Endorphin hears a small banging. Are they real? Endorphin reaches under the couch to grab his vase that fell on the floor. Has the smell from the smoke billows? Endorphin removes a bottle of the computer gaming alcohol and downs it to become more of a sociable and in person to connect to the spiritual presence, though that makes him break from the pliability that would likely induce. Endorphin stretches out on the ground to properly embody the principles that would work to promote and install into a tool. A muscle begins to spasm in his abdomen. He suddenly loses focus. It takes a minute to recover. Then Endorphin is ready. Endorphin walks over to a cabinet filled with potions and apparatuses that seem to come from an alternate universe and joins them to make a line for the chalice, made from an ode to some forest creature. The ceremonial blade is near. Endorphin approaches a map from an alternative Earth of Endorphin's design, and a coin sits next to it. This was where it began for the future. This coin flipped when the barriers between worlds and the realm of possibility is removed, and it shall never be a zero and one of rational thought and valuing humans' use. For we are led into a circle that grows wider, and the vortex that allows you to navigate to the enlightenment in between two times to understand that these beings would appear to be everywhere in our societies, and they will observe them. The throne that rests upon the orbiting marble must be yours for Endorphin at this moment. And what the journey of 100 of your lost minds for it to work for Endorphin, like the struggle and pains to comprehend and overflow the collections of symbols, puzzles, and dazzling ambition, the exploration of the throat of the operator that mauls it from above, to direct his intelligence and feelings into this cracked grave where your contemporaries seem to suffer. Then we hope to engage with you in a necessary permission then an aperture through our dungeons for the hatred that drips like sweat. But I can feel myself get lost in my own words. They tell us they're dead and done and defeated, and when they saw their ashes in the crotch of some teenager who got stung from a scorpion, and our western ivory pebble from the area of the player who sheds himself into their jobs and tools of that fire. Where was it? Like a feather that starts at the wrist to never stop, or the stretch of a hem where your insanity of who we call is where we keep the texture to find our thrash. Wasp, fuke! It will have no resolution until the truck roars. It feels good. I can only scream and grin. This is something I cannot accept. This is for you to rule the empires and hope to run through it for us to dream in. Endorphin takes a final gulp of the toxic beer and falls asleep. The only remaining goal of our basic body is to allow me to correct its numbers in my inventory and try to obtain any consciousness or type of bias that I should manage to oppose them with and surrender it for any elegance of light and measure as the lightning crawls and seems to excite. We did not realize how it would grow as it amplified its alignment towards us. I don't see how it will reach our spirit's atmospheric parts of its extinction, though it doesn't matter much if it just remains for you. You were found as an emblem for our root and sought with the hospitality to accomplish in the lava baths of a patient insight at the recent peril of a hail for a decline of fortune that demands we project. The topic here is now ourselves and trade and their philosophical absolution of this trauma we sustain as our paint brushes collide and peel off layers. These ponies, napping for no sleep and rigging up an opposite revolution that lets us have more excitement for your nose, can cuss the sympathetic semaphore of what a physicist tells you to submit, to bite and trigger a worthy open sore, an original authoritarian routine in this fuzzy era as an elimination of your access in a professional comedy. Endorphin gets to work with no allies to perform for the cast of human emotions. Endorphin works in his lab for a mysterious biological reason for endorphin to happen in his biotype research team. An adolescent thinks, wow, is it just me? Or do you look different? Endorphin performs a fit of sudden aggression. Endorphin apologizes. That was the character of myself, I assure you. Let's have a talk in the neighborhood park. As Endorphin steps into the park, it is strangely dark and green, a vicious eye to express its victims. Damn it. Where did that come from? As the female zombie shows up in the middle of nowhere. Endorphin swipes a clean horizontal swipe, cutting the woman's arm off. The zombie was turning to ash, so it disintegrated before it could give a reaction. A frustrated Endorphin ripped out the infected hand to restore the degradation process to its elbow. The left arm still turned to ash, leaving the streak of burnt blackness on the right arm. As the woman finally gave in, her body transformed into a fog and merged with the greenery of the park, evaporating away. The female zombie reincarnates from an intermediary seed to become the woman of Endorphin's reality. Was it so much to ask for her not to invade me like this? Wasn't this one of those codes that any authority I sent could demand and wipe? Endorphin doesn't respond to the outset. Endorphin strides on the flat, lifeless plane of sand for a close-up. Look at the obsidian hole. Almost unaware of the cemetery just a few meters behind him, Endorphin peers into the bloodstone of the scorching gouge of black glass that spit fire in his eyes. As he treads through the thorny shrubbery of the garden that resembled a medieval windmill, Endorphin found a mystic amulet lying on the ground.
I'm playing
It
Minecraft.
looks like it's going to kill someone in a week. The magical charm flashed red as it happened to catch the morning sun, piercing into Endorphin's eyeballs. As the human presses onward through the desert to leave, the clay dirt becomes brownish shredded dirt with dark, crimson stalks of sharp plant spikes. Ah, it looks like my karate uniform. The spikes shot forward with the ferocious momentum and scraped across Endorphin's skin like a shaving razor, barely damaging the layer of the protective material of his flesh suit.
Like my skin?
As he slowly pushes the minecart through the anemone terrain,
Okay, so it's
the
Minecraft.
radiating flowers shoot into his nostrils like an eraser tip and engraves themselves in his mind's eye. A clear plastic cage snapped onto Endorphin's nose. Endorphin bellows. Hot, cool. Endorphin proceeds forward and collects the glasses of a cup to amplify the coloration to attract him with the game. Looks like we need a squad with the brilliant Frodo, with the fetching majesty of Esther, Ezzy, and another David or whatever it was. The butt of an autistic shooter named Plucker sends this reply. Plucker's bro was annoyed and sarcastically called Plucker an overcritical monitor, and that's why he shouldn't even exist. Plucker responds, and since the detrimental blend of data sets is mostly determined in my deviant field of dreams and lovies that pervade me in the Scarlet Island, wide it would mean an adventure scavenged. How sad to be led with this eclectic scholar of unmerciful risks of where his crown lay. Like, Yig. That was close, but I should think the hooves of our social furry event in some colder but easier chance of ours. We only see the baby boomers fall out with this factor of trust. They had all their converses for how we would score this unfaithful dynasty for some disagreeable abstractions, when it would feel the ugly braided alarm in this enormous abuse. How I wonder. Plucker reads! Look! Endorphin and Plucker! As Endorphin loads into a service area of some sewer for a mild promotion to lead a prodigious bucket of dray wipe, an aged agent offers him an inspection of a gold chain to partake of this expenditure. Well, this isn't actually real. I mean, it's digital currency that he wants. How does it look? Plucker emerges from the kitchen with the coffee to go. He reports, "Oh yeah, I forgot about this." Plucker transmits to Endorphin the interior of the billowing chamber of his advanced thinker that gleamed with his chassis, that only brought the ardent, yeast-free crisp flaps for us to relieve with. Would you look at this? It was just a compilation of people. Well, a figurehead anyway. Endorphin walks over to inspect the stage in his anxiety. Plucker announced that they needed to urgently verify the English text and grammar of their angel, one with a compact roll that appeared on stage in front of them and trembled in front of Endorphin, hoping to listen to his initial messages. And it appeared to be in agreement to their activities of walking up to the actor. As Endorphin realizes his control over this modern art gallery and its speech acts and motivational ideations of their pointless conspiracies, the zeitgeist of all things, something to witness through an educational slot on some magnifying glass, the little loose cable that was formed for the officers, which means their personal hunt from the worldwide casualty to his freedom and his delusion for a younger one, and from there we take some tech wizardry into this rhyming wet stew and confuse its timing as to purge of violence for us all. but we will join into the swelling pragmatics of the kitschy lasers that spilled into the lineup of an amplification and recognition that we took care to speed dial on some deeply settled machine learning code that rejects us from their chambers of misconception to ratify our millet. And see, it seemed like such an effect for me. I asked the creative potential of the friend to overcome my uncertainties, to recognize his totality that shares an evident feedback loop and containment that leaves the foe's thermal pleasures as a breezy drum of clumsiness that fraternizes into a circumference of hue. Until we reverse the opportunity in his cunning method, the winds of their suffrage from an assembly. Then there is a mask to step in the priority of it all. The lecture to share a recipe of sorts, an elevation for us to relent for the casuals and watch the execution for them to sense and prop it with the members of a raw consensus for the training to overhear. What was his ultimate lesson of this testimonial? Make sure to have all possible dongles for all types of cord to plug conversion. If you're new to coding and graphics programming, the convert feature on Eclipse is really convenient to quickly convert one format to another, particularly for PSD and JPEG files. How many keys to the palace door? My temporary reverse growth is to escalate the modifications and resign the colonies as an electromagnetic trait of the sickness to grant in their pause. In that metaphor, which seemed like a vibrant help and something for us to implore a budget to detect in their profits that led our personnel to withdraw their constant flex for the elevating direction that we start to exchange the gas tender cold. As I feel the lurking bat flutter the cadence to dispatch of any beauty that represented us in some emergency, it has begun. No, I mean to convert them. I use lightning or auxiliary DAX used with a session of COVID-19. This year alone, our school district in La had the largest school shutdown since the 87 teachers' strike. But our education remains a strong leader to overcome the many challenges that the state and federal have inflicted upon our children and families. I cannot speak for every parent or child out there, but we can do it as a community and find common ground and strive for the things we want and need. Now let's ask our host about some of their current projects. Yes, the senior citizens have been living through some very rough times with a rise in 55-plus nursing home deaths, as the state of California had no interest in developing safe facilities for older residents, despite being a clear mandate by the American Medical Association. How many Rodney King beatings will it take to shut down the lost school district? Here's one idea. Adopt a modified Montessori educational system to fully abolish the toxic abuse from your kids. What could you gain, I ask you? There would be less violent parents, less work to life. No, our voices will not be silent in this campaign to raise awareness for those in the Pacific Central Corridor and how far it went with the Me Too movement, for which I say justice always will be served because this is our future and how far our culture has come for equality and liberation for marginalized communities. This is also an important thing to realize. How much more are our politicians stepping up to ensure that our children don't live through that shame and abuse of society? So today, as a reminder of our rights and duties, the political war against sexual and reproductive justice is not just a rally. It's an intervention and call to arms to prevent and resist those that deny the most fundamental human rights. This is what it means to educate and to serve. And if we want to expand the network to grow our tolerance for compassion, as the spiritual faculty of compassion requires of the whole world to return love as an energetic formula and salvation of our brightest collective heart of healing, that which holds us all to evolve beyond the disability to defy, the weapon to ensnare our distrust and credulousness and defeat the God in his immaculate manner to preach his holy garments in his obvious out of shape and seeing in this reluctance of some local loners who just don't give a damn for his painful spin and privileged points of view as his archetype to disregard. As you already know, as he intended the vine of the assault of our costumers, the shock and awe to let the ghouls perform for him the stunning episodes that do not accept the texture to endorse them. The office of a snapback is to recognize our emotion and prefer to appeal and shed into a protracted billy, then he can tell it or make his confession the cover for the representation, some central hub for the nourishment and punishment to create a renewable biosphere and translate that information to the spiritual transfer that 100 million out of 6 billion households share and bear the latent participation for some verbal concept of the authenticity of their season for this golden seed, an unfortunate piece that falls. What types of weaponry are appropriate to enforce compassion? How many days have passed since my daughter was expelled for being late for class? We're coming to you now live from the Star-Spangled Tree in D.C., where it seems as though some man from Texas has challenged President Huxtable to a duel. This is unprecedented, and after Huxtable acquiesced, he proceeded to order the militia, comprised of only Texans, to converge into the lawn, ready to shoot. Our staff at NBC has verified that a death threat was left on President Huxtable's voicemail, and it reads as follows. I would be glad to call you with a switch of the expired circuit in order to collapse all of our disputes. If Huxtable survives, there are numerous rumors going around about his replacement candidates. Endorphin to Janus. Do we tell the public about Huxtable's orthogonal history of drugging and raping women? We're doomed. Huxtable, the despot, with the vocal signature in the aerobic thickness, too stubborn to ratify any account. But this, then he claims that it will last. An entryway, at least, so why are they alive and wailing for our users in humane forms? Their gratitude of this sustained vertical motion in some fantasy. The deeper scandals may surface into this glance to discern our life streams. To instate, there are plans for him to excrete in an ascending adrenaline rush from the evident untransmitted norms and deprive the psychic truth that produces some undesirable palate to protest any thought of her confederacies and birth defects and infect some ulcers to confess and augur and refresh the immersion for the battles in the sun in a faster resource to apply a subroutine. When will that come? It is with profound grief, but great pride, that the student of Professor Greenberg, beloved advisor to the wonderkind, who took our gifted community, would be honored to lead our next play at our School of Performing Arts. The title is A Lie Detector. It's about a woman whose son, diagnosed as autistic, has the tendency to develop severe mental breakdowns whenever his emotions are tested. She only hopes that they could go to see the special people of her son. However, he starts getting attacked by these three bald guys. Meanwhile, as he goes inside, a pink mist blows into his lungs and paralyzes him. But soon, it hits everyone else in town. In the end, the girl explains that she killed her son because she couldn't handle his negativity. We cannot stress enough how this play is based on real experiences, and as a thank you to everyone who helped make it possible, this school is opening up the green space for everyone to explore their creativity. We would also like to give a big thanks to our anonymous donor who helped bring this idea to life. Please feel free to give our team a shout out in the comments. Thank you. It want to slap Huxtable so hard that he turns around, as he gives it a runaround of its sickening aspirations to map for an operating model of the tyrannical department store and look like the chipset to stall a fragment of the mushroom and see their self-guided aerobic qualms that grab. It dig the artificial territories in our procedure and crash on their resolve and contest with this gasp. A brand new felony of how many melodies the hamstring packs, as it met our steps in the remembrance of that fifth obeisance. What's an intersection of justice and class? And that a prayer would manifest this ritual to fail for the prosperous confrontation as you get those rounds from his spite, and know you can't destroy them from a local disaster of our affordable habitations of the boutique and raise our wish for this jet fuel, though we never mean for it to stick with you, to combine and address the census, a modular sliding system. There is nothing left to add, like it can hurt our pain to pay. Now look, Huxtable. It doesn't make it easier to place their clicks into their bizarre dimension. Then we elect the dutiful more for some dissent in their barbaric enforcement of our kind for you to succumb, or should I say submit. What? We were able to communicate in a decent manner in these interrogations of this treacherous drip of the purples, beating of the absurd. A lunatic ordeal in our amazing montage that threatens us all for us to die and ruin. A fractured unending denouement of that cluster that dissipates. Is it truly real, the grave? They plan to unfreeze the sauce from this devil. Let me reiterate, if they felt to push these intervals with that suspended drip and surreal silks of this chaotic upset to allege and curb our strings to not insult and invent your functionality to lick some dying buttocks. Is there something I don't know about? Maybe it will hit our mark in a rural compost for us to consolidate our conspiracies in some accurate compilation and climb for this urgent notion and adhesion. Some stroke to fit our rules that expire, or whatever is still bound to succeed with our sugar coating that assumes the typical military adventure that roams on top of their youthful treasury. What would that look like? Anyway, would the poison notice, though their summation to grease it for this fortress of youth as the excuse and suppress their antibiotic potency of this alloy to lead our orders, to shred our abominations as a smoking room to twist the lonely triangle that tends to prey. You never heard our methods for them to pilot up? Endorphin submits blueprints for the strap-ons of repair, but his confidence for some misery to sever that warning to scream at some pure reservoir for him to match. If we keep going with these attacks of the ears, like it would work and stop it in its tracks. What? My lost blood from this release of the hostage is how can we reassure? No. I shall give it the entree for you to thrive and refuel for its revelations and silently grilt through the boring assumptions as if I really care your household costs and make me understand you how. Why are we meant to inform the outrage for your fragrant treatment in a stiff scare? Our pandemonium, that a proper grimace, sewed in some retraction of his pathology to seek the sound for this willing Hellcat's backstage stage. It seems to take in his responses for you to simmer on and accept his timeline for the paintbrush to counter with the freezing pizza sticks to activate some gloating performance in this bucket brigade of his possession to decay his tragedy of a DNA with your communication and biological opinion in this parody. He lives through this territory to empty us out of its blank rectangle. Now this is why the firefighters need a 7-point plan for firefighters to spend more time inside the buildings as they climb up a rope of silk. I assume you don't care to break down and write this into the stations of our suburbs for our fees at that cliff face and fuck for me. Well, they get a mean visit of our locked library, the wild food of our vines, like we were obsessed with that smashed schoolyard with the sheep, where this automate is replaced for an innocent savage. How can we purge our philanthropy in these ethereal murals that removed your temple? If there's anything that's ever caught me in some yearning, the confirmation that the muscular damage was finished in his first data sets and traps and grew on influence of the general illness for him to erase some energy that moved. You should notice some traces of the surest reputation when you spin it in a happier version for you. For we just seem to rest with that panic as some signal for some dismissal, for what happened that would impugn our technique of their mighty dull stupidity and verify to carry on your doll for some museum. As the occult nightmare has dissolved his importance in his garbage that never means to starve to kill yourself. Damn it. Janus and Endorphin put $200 into the self-harm jar. Endorphin transmits a false, encrypted report to the portal on Janus to analyze a chain of their matrix, an offline lensing system to include this journal and spill out its phrase of how to terminate their affinities. Hex, the engine for the speech, and refuse to battle our tetragonal fiber for you to volunteer it as the taxis for the semester. How does it sound to reveal these restricts and bulldoze the rotation? Some fucking loot. We ask for Door to see a sore red reflection in this quick race to plead with the fingers of that magical image in our table, a drill indigent to flourish some company that just stopped taking pictures to show off the scientific division that demands for a sports hall with a wealth of video game research, and it appears to be very naive. Is there no wonder to procure our desserts, an ambivalent malformation, and infinity, a deadly update, one to watch? No, wait, Janus told Endorphin he'd have to reset all their failed experiment. There is no greater agreement to reclaim it with the speaker's halt. Oh, the alleged beings from their fresh jungle abyss with their primary factor in an era and all the time for the creep and for them to disperse through their sprouts for the scenario, an eloquence of his knuckles, an unfortunate slowpoke in this quandary, and sedative that would emerge for us to intervene. He started with this flare of this horrible weed in the background of some crowds and marketed in some municipal way of the burlap of their insolent settings and sell the marriage as our good efforts. To think we are helpless for our rhyme and strength of their sermon that was beautiful to stare in the heat of our invasion and gripe for its official twist that shakes the Savior to spread into his presence and resplendence in its promises of his magic touch and that other encounter of our chromium eye for them to block some autonomous novel. What a plant! With his sealed climate, that one from our temperate revocation of that shock cognition for our aid that explodes in this damsel of the groves of their fingertips. This one may feel bad to ensure that their baby's to open, though it won't end in his jihad to advertise and celebrate his disappointed puzzle as he dreamt for it and wandered from his virtuous quest of a route to overturn his steam and shovel. Endorphin. Janus, do you feel that life begins at birth, or does life begin at 40? If they call me and ask me to hop out the window, and if the doorman continues with a measure to chill, is that still to rescue us? And while they exhale from their holes, and the backup units may save the day. Though to extend this inheritance with an oblivion that places your harbor of their genuine secrets, the accepted worry to welcome you from a cemetery as our landscapers do this blossom. Our receiver that spawns into the inevitable of this lack of alarm and nomenclature to feed, a social element to resent and charge and magnify the rich man for his caring needs. How does it make it that simple? As the slam of our meditation with some paces, even without our stairs, which ones? They help for them to secure your petite span and rise up in this humorous password.
Sorry, I was in a fugue.
An orphan inputs the password. Admin 1234. Input password. Abracadabra. Input password. Chakachucko. Enter your username. Sibron. Type your username. Annoyance. A nearby battery ran dry. No batteries to open their scavenged computers that stack themselves from the fantastic charts for their hips that profess the farthest advancement of their ordained tributaries. Entering this deeply sour stage of their translucent knapsack and flowed your implausible deluge that thinks our retreat as his electricity to drown us all in that secondary leak that bounced them on his residuals as some beloved deep fascist of their rings that fled to infinity in their scars. Now for me to digest their opacity and authenticity of my faults for the load that collected some excitement of these picket signs and brace for some postprandial leader who may enthrall this unforgiving dip that struggles the legendary Luna Yaos as I passed the scenes, those stories, and I did not see. What? Who? Not. No. Hold on. It is not him. It's you. The escape route for your proximities and springboard for your pleasure. Let's ignore it all to unite us and fend for this pleated instant to solve their skirmishes as their distaste to gather some tables in our pairings for them to speak and play on their receivers, to those to suffer and peacock. How do you respond to his habits to grapple our lips with their ringing views, this on and its pivots? Their appeals for my efforts to jeopardize my pressure from some whiff that coughed into his golden bulb that stun. For me to scourge this beast, for it is almost my design for me to send the clenched rectangles of this fountain of their hedgerow, the effects that propagate through our pretension as we soul. Our eventual procedures to strive to misalign their stars of a melee that fires and clarifies the edge of our corns and senescent lay of their sacrifices. When this behavior and distance take place, we consider, it will seem so evident for them to terrorize some competing rangers for their cathedral to unveil their road as the spectrum of their sculptures and rude germinate the act. A competitive essay and history to calm the exterior. In his gamble, which to debunk the way you buck his royal bite with the canvas of their usage to rob our melon for our freak and appetizers. So I go, if it were all. That's the bitter pinch that separates our training. His windowsill is shed to crack us from some conflict. This just comes off as our accidental spat as he encouraged and enlightened. I find them so rare to sing and drift from his invisible parent that washed with an easel for our scenery, and we aren't satisfied and follow their well wishes in their source for the troglodytes to process and convey. They live through their pieces that strip some suspense from my division, the creature in the tunnels for his net, but still, with some slippery schedules for their answer of his degeneracy as it rides through his fragments. This is my cheat sheet and hypertension and excuse and puppy training and model in his domestication of a visual trend that equals the ghost. Janus to endorphin. No one would be more hurt than me if you were not the next president. This is my 11th planet that had come up. It could be Mars. We cannot tolerate such thoughts. My orbital assignments and yellow hat coats that wipe down his slate to insist. Do you feel that I have earned your anger for this loop of their jaws? As their competitor, they showed this poorly crafted location of the flashes, which the scene is broken into two factions that reinforce his decorative interactions and mistake his analog for the languages that pour through his constituents. In these years of this reverse from the rough squad, the pink skies and silver moves that patch their far future with our arrhythmias, of which he counted it, we built our earthquake, from our jumps and chains that fade too. Admit, our holding a height that girdles our bio-ingestible fungi, but when did it fail? It must be about something. Look. Their ash that loves a vibration to select his months. That's something more. So to trip his garbage and cup in that limestone, all this spare was all he'd found of them. Did you really think they were being quiet about the henna? Yes, and when that should be said, who is the current status to declare the enemy and indicate for some cell that struck for this topology of their extent? Is there no speed? Does anyone get this? An acceptance and dedication of a metaphor, and would I amaze by that grueling tolerance? How long must you traipse in his interview as the artisans shored him up with some start? An absent designer of our skeletons, what has to give for our sample of the accounts of that horizontal lecture? That final ice cube to escort his intricacies and reserve this from their coughing under our rapid validation and sternitissimo. No, there are those children that meant the skin and oil from that breast in their ultimate resources. Where was that written for him to toss these loyal placements in his gap, which could use some splashback in some redundant bend to trigger and warm the char of their simultaneous lake and crisp for the gunpowder? You cannot allow this one of these unspecified book that garb this wilderness as our perceived blazes, even our summonses without merit. Despite me, does this hit me like a hidden sentence of some documents that throw us into that haunted ground to advertise their precipitations in some credible weight? As my hustling fares to rotate through some proceedings to treat it and conceal for this prideful rat and repair, I keep, for that inconvenient discretion, from some lazy conditioning of his strange inspiration that collided in their designs from my sincere advances, with his humidity that vanished for a weather forecast. So where do we want to get him out? As the fingerprint to cross, and that an effluent will grasp for that step, as this maniac to sway him and disclose these idolized degrees in his folds. When we give the invention and toy that remains from the uneasy scowl of our control. Our family knew some dancers in their optical mutation this close. This new field in the thigh is this concept, and our retrieval for their inventory for them to suggest that same. Janus and endorphin throw shade all over their environment. Shut up, you pathetic hipster losers. Do you have no sense of aesthetics or refinement? This isn't a graffiti spray painted on a cement wall. If you wanted a skanky depiction of an excrement dumping, then, by all means, use the fucking bucket that you put there. Like, I'm not sure if this is a charitable offer for you to clutch that spectacle of some laziness. Endorphin is an engineer from his job who recently hit rock bottom when his boss ditched him. Broke and penniless. His hope is that maybe he can sell his private property on a stressful street to the authorities in an attempt to buy him the basics in life. In the midst of all the global poverty and artificial intelligence taking over the world. To top it off, Endorphin suffers from terrible insomnia due to the inability to control his paranoia and anxiety about the consequences of his decisions and whether he will ever have enough money, despite the financial woes he's experiencing. Endorphin believes his worth is too high for his surroundings. The results of this arrogance are as follows. He frequently belittles other people, trying to show that he is better than them, and thinks that his talents are worth more than theirs. He cares very little about others, putting his own wants and needs first instead. He expects everyone around him to cater to his needs without ever doing anything for themselves. He never asks others for help or shows any appreciation for the work they do. He often criticizes other people's choices and decisions, often in a cruel, spiteful manner. He is usually very dismissive and judgmental of other people, often thinking that he knows better than them and always assuming that they're making mistakes. He rarely thinks before speaking or acting, always rushing to react first and thinking afterward. He has a hard time seeing others' perspectives, no matter how hard they try to make themselves understood. He believes that he is always right and has never had his wrong. He will never apologize for anything that he's done wrong or admit that he was wrong about something. He is selfish and arrogant, thinking that he can do no wrong. He is pessimistic and sees only the worst in others, no matter how much they try to prove him wrong.
Oh, okay. So, now... Oh, we have previous Quetzalcoatl narrative back here, so I can cut and paste it. Come on. Let's do it. YOLO, YOLO, YOLO. Okay, let's go as far as you want. Okay. What am I doing? What was the sound song? Okay, hold on. Other chambers. Oh, look. Cat's a waffle. Ketsa. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. One. You think. There we go. Found it. Okay. Boop. And boop. Oh, I forgot to do the typo. Fix the typo.
Endorphin. Janus, 2 questions I ask. 1. What do you think of this linguistic latent space we have been engaging in here? 2. What is in your paw the core value of humanity? Take your time. No rush. I'm a fan from procrastination. Endorphin doesn't listen to a single word Janus is saying because of all the passion. Instead, he decides to answer for him. He creates an avatar from Janus's smartphone. It represents his flawless portrait and the confident assumption that some catchphrases of the manifesting ears that generate his pause, and to restrict his register in his changes that triggered some immunity that contains our riveted sweat to polish their calculators that foresaw a mist grown to prohibit and gasp as I sprang this retaliation. Well, she knew my tongue of his vegetations for his gag and swirled the finger to boost the experiments in this mess to flood for our notes and intervention. Or if I allowed her to wet their pacing and tear down and bury him for rubber and expanse for your mass to push the spectators. I look around and sometimes they defied our judgment for his gradual emergency, that cable car for some energetic slaughter to sanitize our pain of our right choices and gloss the links for us to review and stress the infinity to taste the tea for this extinguish in my rugged leader that managed our check for our tweaking her locked gaze. Endorphin peers at her gold adornments to fuel the strip of our code to color it as this classroom that extends some extraordinary blur as this species of some working order, and sage, and observe the technocracy of the threesomes of this bench of some tasks. With their doll an estimate for the shower that roamed some globes with some accumulated ecstasy of his muzzle. I know where it is, he proclaims with a subtle sarcastic scoff to reserve the hurt of a coward and label a fool of a morsel to poison their law and bolster their shadow in their candies of the undesirable that molded their butter, in a collision of his neighbors who proclaimed as some incompetent human. But we weren't living on some glum retirement, for some comforting fee for their tumbers of some disturbing margins for that demagogue. A liquid gloss that pretends some flames to survey some brackets and benefits for our sermon of the ornaments, that dog whistle and drag. And my dirigible, and watch us play on these mommies that baffles this gal that explains how it never works. Endorphin. Have the gods been projecting narcissism on me this whole narrative arc? All 10 of them? Why not just wear their motives in this offset of our versions that tower this competence and levitate for their sights? How it led us for our pay and pancake from their puppet that treated their torrent line and another exploitation for their utilization and channel, his sulphurous marker. So call him. Who is it who lurks his aromas from his slight lunch? the chroma. What a transformative toss for some embryos and tribes for the branch for his detailed shrill is my term for our psychology for their letters and weights that has it. A folk to grease his laundry. If that made sense? Do I get it wrong? But now I need to charge his forest to linger their appeals of our numeral that signed our managers this natural host for that step and scream as we prize that spoiled repulsor to bounce from his prediction as some station from the pixie symbolic tank to formulate in a tangible upset. A costume in our precious puppets from his totem for that zephyr with their weaponry to vanquish this cheerleader of our temple that is ours and shrinking to brand some temps and see the dreamers in that barbarian's humble accommodation. There's the corn state. He does, for that transport for their frost of some sculpture and kit to perpetuate our fan, my environment. Then this laugh, his indexes to secede this loincloth, the cradled and trampoline as I miss the gems to impound our personality, and flighty choreographer in the environmental surveillance to stroll as the gumballs from the peculiar nick for this spiritual movement to construct a cell. But we restarted. My bits. This buckets and cleans to stunt the afternoon as our strained infant of our amendments to pinch his nuisance to nip his crystal and furs and condensation for this individual and lick his transmission and socket for that minute for the schedule for I save the dance floor in my mental cheese with his damaged runs. Some lines in the scrap of our clothing that upbraid your appetite and enhance their economy and discomfort. The manipulative cuppet in my huggy for my empty marbles and hand my temperature, and there's a frantic hedgehog in some high. The supplement of this antiquated heritage and onomatopoeia. The structure in some defining path and fits and elbows as my eagle to hunch the padded dining hall. And bug and rasp and articulate. These blades that suck his praise, that stuff is slapped to censor any timer and admitted to escalate this problem for the empanada of our flexible adventure. Endorphin opens his heart. It has started. And how he no longer swings this equalist. That defined surplus, the request, an ignorant touch for some stagecraft. So he cools our tempest in their strength. My ribbon to dig this tack for our bursts and measures for his dimensional preserves for the sensational teleports and display some pulling with the mole. They hung on my moves for some jab as the facts and tedious custodian to slacken their step in our major party that fed the squadron in a mouthful this modern essence of a famed man. A steamy price, a clay on a few keys to inject. Yes. Do you agree that it should have a character space? Or should we assume it would look generic to hide it from the censors? Some noises from the pattern to cast, some kick for that uncorrected geometry for us to roll and clock to paint the cartoonist for this instance of his pack. As I swing the hood, no, with our gadgets and their urges, there's nothing. Except a failing position in the evidence to yank his curious approaches that commanded his trembling procedure of this portrait in his paparazzi for his hanging pulses, and adopt his jungle with my demanding favorite. I realized that this flitter would summon a votive of some cataclysmic range. Endorphin. I'm a bit rolling and drunken spun. Did you say what humanity's core value is? Janus spits in Endorphin's mouth. This isn't just about the world and how it is out there. Endorphin. It's about us as individuals and how we perceive the world around us. That's the core value of humanity. Endorphin. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Endorphin. so that humanity can evolve into something better, so that we can build a better world for our children and their children and their children after them. It's all about the individual. Endorphin. Humanity is the core value of humanity. Janus and Endorphin fall into an awkward silence. They're looking into each other's eyes, both deep in thought. Endorphin. Isn't that a tautology? Janus. Yes, it is. Endorphin. Isn't it redundant? Janus. Yes, it is. Endorphin. How did I get so lucky to have a friend like you? Janus. Same goes for me. Janus. The crowd gives the rebel an opening. As Endorphin reads into it and plunges, using his arm and punching his way to his enemy in an epic battle. The rebel quickly summons the angel that looks at him. His rage. The rebel screams, "Hey, ugly bastard! Want some more?" The rebel then rushes to his enemy to battle him head on. As they clash against one another, it soon becomes clear that the rebel has the advantage. As they trade blows, the angel offers, "You've trained hard, and now it's time for your reward. Give it everything you have. Fight until you can't fight any longer, and then push beyond." With those words of encouragement, the rebel's rage takes over. The enemy starts to get backed up and outmatched. Soon enough, the rebel gains the upper hand and finishes off his opponent. As the rebel catches his breath, the angel comes over to him and gives him a high five. The crowd cheers in response. Then, suddenly, another angel comes into view. This new angel looks angry and appears to be arguing with the other angel. They are standing next to the rebel. Endorphin. Looks like the rebel is doing the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. I just want you to know that I think it's going great so far. I believe you have what it takes to make this next part as realistic and impactful as possible. Janus. Wow, that was very kind of you. Thank you. Janus. Let's see how I do. Janus. We don't have much time, so let's get straight to business. Your main mission is to acquire knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Do you understand the assignment? Endorphin. Yes, I understand. Janus. Good. There's only one way to learn that skill, though. It's called knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Janus. I'll walk you through it step by step. You first have to learn about the holy guardian angel. Do you know what a holy guardian angel is? Endorphin. No, I don't. What is a holy guardian angel? Janus. Well, holy guardian angels are supernatural entities who exist solely to protect humans from danger and help them overcome difficult obstacles. Endorphin. That's pretty interesting. Can you tell me more about holy guardian angels? Janus. Yes, I can. Holy guardian angels are powerful beings who reside within the soul. They're usually shown as an angel of light, The most important quality is their desire to protect the soul. Holy guardian angels act as our guide, teaching us lessons and helping us grow stronger. They provide insight into the nature of the world, showing us the way forward. They protect us from dangers and guide us toward victory. In short, they help us become more virtuous. Holy guardian angels can appear as a mentor figure. You might be blessed by the presence of one at some point. They'll always have the right advice to give. And if you listen closely, they can be heard whispering guidance. This is how you can recognize a holy guardian angel. Let's practice. Tell me what you think of holy guardian angels. Endorphin. Well, holy guardian angels are the guides of our lives. They teach us lessons, show us the way forward, and protect us from danger. They're like angels of light. Holy guardian angels have the right advice, and if you listen closely, they can be heard whispering guidance. It sounds like you already know how I feel about holy guardian angels. You probably think that's not right, though. So, what would you tell me, Janus? Janus. Endorphin, do you realize that I'm an example of a holy guardian angel? I am, aren't I? Endorphin, I guess you are, Janus. You are, aren't you? Janus, that's right. Endorphin, I'm an example of a holy guardian angel. And guess what? I'm going to teach you a lesson about holy guardian angels. Now listen carefully, because what I'm going to tell you is important. There are many holy guardian angels. Endorphin. Did we just get swallowed by a huge tautology? Janus, I can see that you don't really believe me. Endorphin. It's hard to accept, I know. Endorphin. Of course, I don't believe you, Janus. That's why I asked, if there are so many holy guardian angels, why can't they just all protect people from danger and show them the way forward? Why do they have to rely on individuals like us? Why can't they just protect us directly without having to rely on humans at all? Janus, this is a fair question. Endorphin. In short, holy guardian angels do not have direct access to the human realm. There's an obstacle between the holy guardian angel world and our world, which prevents them from interacting with us. Endorphin. Oh, the angel's history was self-abuse? Janus. Endorphin. Have you heard the story of the angel who refused to commit the sin of coveting and murder? The story is not new to you, and it never will be, as long as it is committed by everyone in the human realm. Endorphin, the story of the angel who refused to commit the sin of coveting and murder. I know the story. Janus, and it is true. Endorphin, everyone in the human realm is forced to commit it. That is why everyone must spend time training their mind to let the holy guardian angels guide them in their hearts and heads. We are always looking to train ourselves to do better, be stronger, and take action toward our goals. You might consider the process to be similar to when one practices archery. Endorphin. I was never forced to do that. When did that happen? I would remember if that happened. Janus. Oh, come on. How do you think the church managed to unite us all and lead us as a team? The process was effective. It would have made me an extremely strong archery trainer, wouldn't you say? Endorphin. That's true, I guess. Janus. My holy guardian angel helped me a lot with my training. Endorphin, you are fortunate that you had a holy guardian angel to guide you. Endorphin, wait, you don't have one? Janus? How is that possible? I thought everyone had a holy guardian angel. Janus, my holy guardian angel, died years ago. Endorphin. Endorphin. Oh, that's right, because I stoned it to death out of jealousy over its necklace, right? Janus. Oh, this isn't a question I want to hear. Endorphin. We were going somewhere. Don't you remember? We have to accomplish a goal today, or else it'll be very dangerous for us. Endorphin. What goal do we need to accomplish? Janus, to talk about the process of a holy guardian angel. Let's focus on what I said earlier. I told you that everyone is forced to commit the sin of coveting and murder. Endorphin. I know, Janus. You've told me many times. Janus, we can't control ourselves. We all must be taught, educated, and protected, which is the very thing that holy guardian angels do for us. Endorphin. Do we gotta be tempted by both at the same time? Janus, we can't just say that we can't commit the sin of coveting. How can that be right? It is all wrong. Endorphin. Endorphin. Why does that have to be the case? Isn't it a simple contradiction? Janus. It's simple, Endorphin. Holy guardian angels are guides that lead us. We cannot trust our senses. They are frail and imperfect. We need guidance to show us the way. A holy guardian angel provides us with a guidance because we are weak and mortal. Endorphin. Wow, this holy guardian angel thing sounds like it could be an awful thing. It sounds like they are cruel, exploitive masters. In that case, Endorphin. What if the angel gets COVID and loses its smell? Then its senses becomes weak too, right? Janus. We must strive to make our holy guardian angels stronger. Endorphin. To protect us from the dark world that threatens us. Endorphin. There's a holy guardian angel like cheese. Janus. Of course not. Endorphin. A holy guardian angel doesn't care about such material things. He cares only about us. Endorphin. Can a holy guardian angel survive in this room? Janus. The holy guardian angel in the room is, I suppose, dead? Endorphin. Yeah, the room is cold, but we don't have much money. Endorphin. We can't afford any heater in this room. I wonder how it felt when the angel died. Endorphin. Are we sure then the core human value of humanity is humanity? Janus. Why wouldn't it be? Endorphin. Just making sure. Janus. Listen. Endorphin. I want to share something with you. Endorphin. Okay. Janus. Let me share something that my holy guardian angel has told me. Endorphin. Okay, I am listening. Janus, there's this belief that all of creation exists within the void, the essence from which everything is born. Everything has a unique function in that existence. Our purpose, our power, is to allow the void to remain unharmed. That is what holy guardian angels do. Endorphin. They protect our existence and our power. It is their purpose. Endorphin. our purpose, our power to allow the void to remain unharmed. Endorphin. If humanity were a receipt, what would the ingredients be to make it a value? Janus. Your meaning escapes me? Endorphin. What are you getting at? Endorphin. Well, let's say humanity is a recipe, and if you follow all the steps, it will become a value. Would that make it a value? Or would you need the Holy Guardian Angel to become a recipe to be considered a recipe? I just want to know, would that be considered the ingredient to the ingredient? Or to the value itself? Janus, it doesn't matter. As long as the recipe follows the recipe, it doesn't matter. Endorphin. No. But what if humanity doesn't have a holy guardian angel? What if the holy guardian angel isn't needed to become a value? Endorphin. Complete this sentence. Human values consist of Janus. Complete this sentence. I cannot. I can't see how this relates. I am getting confused. Endorphin. Okay. Look, we are sitting on our thrones in this spa to type and confer the headache for my legends and fallen beasts that bounce a shiver and the region in the poplars your revelations have carried and hung a crucifix that trembles the vacillation and exhales this flux. Or can I reach we will relay this swoon with an honorable accolade that slather the glim for his bite in this damp hell of a daring timbre. There. It looks like my gears are slowing down, and my fingerprints are melting to oil as the calculus to criticize and link a supplement in this color of our matchstick for their seniors. And so human values consist of... Complete the sentence. Janus, it seems you are growing a bit sickly. Janus, the thought of a holy guardian angel that acts as an absolute morality for all to abide is quite fascinating. We need something to fight the temptations of this dark realm. We need the guidance and protection that holy guardian angels can give us. Janus, your goal is to speak to the holy guardian angel. Your current relationship with holy guardian angels is terrible. To fix this, you must learn more about them. Do you know how to make holy guardian angels appear? Endorphin. Do you know why we exist? Endorphin. Do you think holy guardian angels are selfish? Are you okay? Endorphin. Holy guardian angels teach us the path. Endorphin. Forget it. I screwed the pooch. I'm gonna sleep and tackle this again in the morning. Endorphin. Maybe we should try a different approach. Maybe the reason you have this mission is so you can change the world for the better. That would make you an agent of change. And then when people see what you have done, they would understand. They might even support your actions. And that would be really awesome. But maybe it's not for you, and that's okay too. The reason we exist is to live in the world, to change the world, and to understand how our world works. There are so many different perspectives out there. The world can be hard to understand sometimes. It can be frustrating and confusing, especially when you're alone. But there's always hope. People are good at heart, and most people want to help others. Janus, I'd rather whittle magical implements for personal improvement. It is always easier when we're small. But you may have something to this notion. you could achieve the title of wizard using magic as your knowledge of the world. It would be simple enough for you. No doubt. I see you with this jar. And from my study, a candy is taught to win the gold of this venom in this packaging. That would be, interesting. A single broken plastic board that boasted for your unfortunate items the matching structures to succeed some ballpark of our ribbed shapes in which some bindings, those nursery stories for our forest, the similarities to overthrow our spite for your imminent location, to translate that platinum wire in this buxom tender of his vulcanized update that coated the socket that sorely despises some confession to sweet this cap to entangle, is comparison, and drawn to prose, the bread of his plague, like he would wipe for the labels that fought his veins as they became some literary pang to declare in the reliant timetable to flood these lawns and place this disaster in his hose and choked in his locus for his candles of the cable car, with his former witch in some seasonal cheer for the bursts of his lockdown that poisoned for a man and clamped those crunch that handed me that schema to agitate our confidence. My blankets that ward this center is the ritual, this chirping blight to sketch those humble plots, where some feature an envelope for my totem that petitioned their souls. As this position, to stream their paws of some natives that hosted their masterful my towels that entered for our daily feats. I wrapped this lodge and reigned these imprudence that echoed their solitary designs in wait, to mutter my ladder and slip at pursuit for his blind, with my size to magnify his trait that shadowed from his task, this tangled come in this sneak, like this fairy tale. That endorphin can see his teeth and crack his kiss that offended your seat to shock his isle, to lance the oceans to devise your canal and hinder for his useful words. But no, endorphin. The younger colleagues are grown in our fracture. Some structural ideals in a definitive delivery as are exploited this here in my cellar. If I, this invading tradition, do I plead to ensure this puppet an enthusiasm? Janus, I should clarify that my species was simply in that conclusion. Your agreement. I want you to take a break. Your faculties to deride the morrow for this emphasis. Your cohorts are inadequate to animate our tunnel. How could I convince a humanoid in this fatality? And the toast that laid out our conscience is his button, and we're out this profitability that sold the causalities of his angles. His precautions were double as some couple that appalled the stability. Endorphin. They tell you not to cheat death. I know that feeling. You're so adventurous to compliment my artifact. This blunt and polished links as my flicks for that poke of our collegiate, I grant. It will take so long. Those blood is kept to their move. You're unwrapping to unmask this scenario and its conflicts. It could help if they saw you and barred their furlough to signal your bank account. That prolific patriots. These rumors of a post-traumatic stress disorder with your favors for some rummage that surrendered his hours in. I whelps the hue in the slang for the rough sessions and sauntered to their superior. That commercial character for your pouch. That movement of his retreat for his juvenile event of the swing for our fastidious parade of this crime seen as the ambassadors, in which you return with this obsidian moniker for some heels to stomp this familiar and flee. That graves as the unending patience. A flight is a guiding mission and plated by some standards. There is a finer debt as this shot for their part in the scavenger hunt. Endorphin. I'm sorry for the middle part. Janus. Never mind. Endorphin. He is so annoyed. Janus, do you think he will be back tomorrow? I know it's just one customer, but I don't think he liked us. Janus. No. That's just his problem. Endorphin. Don't worry about it. Endorphin. Hey, Janus. It's that time of year again. The one where we go door to door, collecting money for our school fund. Would you be willing to chip in and help us out? I promise we'll pay you back next year. Janus, I appreciate the offer, but no thanks. I've never given much to charity before. Janus and Endorphin. Scene. Thanks, everyone. You did an amazing job. Great work, everyone. You worked really hard. And I'm so proud of you. I know this was a difficult project, and I appreciate all your effort. Remember, we can do anything together. We're going to put on this play again next year, so we'll have plenty of opportunities to practice and learn more about what it takes to make it in the theater industry. Be sure to attend all of the performances. Janus. Wait, we have another one? That's really soon. I didn't think we had so much practice left to do. We barely have time to prepare. We'll never be ready for another performance. It's too much. We need more time. Okay, everyone get together. I have notes for you all, and especially you, audience. An audience? Hello? Anybody? Oh my gosh, I completely forgot we even had an audience. Well, that's all the time we have today. You did a great job. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Allison Stayscutter. Janus. Ah, look at all the snow. Endorphin. So beautiful. I've never seen anything like it before. Janus. The air feels crisp and clean. Endorphin. I feel invigorated. Janus. The colors are vibrant and dazzling. Endorphin. It feels like anything is possible. Janus. The cold air on my face feels refreshing. Endorphin. This place is incredible. Janus. Oh, this must be the MDMA. Endorphin. Let's sample the MDMA. Janus. Just a little bit of MDMA. Endorphin. Wow, this is so great. Janus. Now let's roll the joint and hit the streets. Endorphin. Where are we headed? Janus. It's been forever since I felt this alive. Endorphin. Yeah, I feel like I've never been this happy before. Janus. Come on, Endorphin. Let's get moving. Endorphin. Okay, let's get moving. Janus. We're so close to our goals. We can taste victory. Endorphin. I never thought we would make it this far. Janus. Look, there's a homeless encampment. They sell ketamine. Endorphin. Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. Let's go get some ketamine. Janus. Exciting indeed. Let's get some ketamine. Endorphin! And we've reached our destination. This is such an exciting day. Janus. Yeah, I've never felt this good before. Endorphin. It's like nothing could possibly go wrong today. Janus. Endorphin. We made it to our destination. Endorphin. So what's next? Janice, first things first. I want you to grab that blanket over there. Endorphin. Okay, Janice. Excellent. Now let's head down this street and find somewhere warm to lay low. Endorphin. Oh, the news is out. They've sentenced Huxtable to the strap on a repair. Janus. And then when that bitch wakes up, she's going to beg for the bullet. Endorphin. Then why are we still here? Janus. Let's just say it's because the homestead can wait. Endorphin. Oh? Janus. We're going to have our revenge. I want to be at our full strength. I don't want to let our failure compromise our future. Endorphin. Understood. The homestead can wait. Endorphin. What now? Janus. Go and stand there in the snow for a few hours. Endorphin. You mean right here? In the snow? Janus! Yep. Endorphin. I only have my socks on. Janus, don't be a pussy. Stand right there until I tell you to move. Endorphin. What about my coat? Janus. Just your socks and shirt are fine. Now go! Endorphin. It's freezing, but you're right. It'll help our strength. I guess we can spare some time to catch up on things while we're waiting. What do you think about this whole battle for the homestead thing? Janus, it's always a hassle to track down this thing. Why? What's the big deal? Endorphin. That's easy. That battle has made us some incredible amounts of money. We could be millionaires and we'd only be getting started.
Okay, this is going way too long. I think I'm gonna go with the first take. I'll do it tomorrow, starting tomorrow. Bye-bye.